Russia's invasion of Ukraine is having unexpected consequences. Russia is experiencing the worst times in its history. Russia is now in danger of total collapse. How has Russia, supposedly one of the most powerful countries in the world, become one of it is because of this war? What is the source of the claims that Russia will collapse? What will happen if Russia collapses? Each of these questions requires very long answers, but we will try to explain them briefly now. Russia was already facing many crises before this war started. But Putin's government thought that when this war victory, all the problems would be overcome. He thought that thanks to the unity of the Russian people, the crisis could be postponed for a while longer. But the Ukrainian army woke Putin from his dream. The Ukrainian army gave Putin the shock of his life. The Ukrainian army has succeeded in surprising even its own allies. It managed to stop one of the world's largest armies. The Russian government still can't digest this defeat. Putin, who claims to have the most powerful army in the world, has not been able to enter Kiev, which is very close to him, for 10 months. This defeat is keeping Putin up at night. The Russian army launched an all-out attack on Ukraine. However, so many Russian soldiers were killed during the Ukrainian resistance that Russia was forced to stop the offensive. Meanwhile, the Ukrainian army launched counter-operations and managed to liberate more than half of the territories occupied by Russia. We remember these developments on the battlefield. But what was happening in Russia in the meantime? What was being discussed in the Kremlin? What happened behind the curtain determined the course of this war. The first thing that was discussed in the Kremlin after this war was the possibility of the collapse of the Russian economy. The Russian stock market began to fall dramatically. The Russian ruble was almost melting. Russia's central bank reserves also plummeted. The first reason for this was the embargo imposed on Russia by the Western powers. Many companies have completely stopped their business activities in Russia. Billions of dollars worth of money in the Russian economy have moved to other countries. Foreign investors have all left Russia. This has caused enormous damage to the Russian economy, which was already in a difficult situation. The real damage started after that. Seeing the depreciation of the Russian ruble, Russian oligarchs and investors started to move their wealth to other countries. As a result of this massive capital transfer, especially to Chinese banks, the Russian ruble started to depreciate much more. Russian companies downsized and many people became unemployed. This contradiction of the Russian economy has also affected other states that are Russia's allies. Another blow to the Russian economy was experienced in the labor force. With the mobilization decision taken by Putin, 300,000 young men were recruited into the army. These young men had to resign from their jobs. Production was disrupted in many sectors. Russia's most qualified soldiers joined the army. Millions of people also left Russia after the mobilization. The departure of families fleeing Russia has also increased the need for labor in Russia. Putin's decision to mobilize has caused a huge decline in the Russian economy. But it is not the economic crisis that is expected to trigger Russia's collapse. With 7,098,242 square kilometers, the largest country in the world, the Russian Federation is home to people of many different nationalities. There are 22 republics within the Russian Federation. In these republics, the majority of the population consists of non-Russian people. Chechnya, Dagestan, and Tatarstan are just some of these republics. Russia is implementing assimilation policies against the people living in these regions. There are many prohibitions in these regions where people of different religions live. People living in these republics are very angry against the Putin administration. Chechnya is the best known for these republics because the conflict between Chechnya and Russia continued until 2009. Many republics of Russia want independence just like Chechens. This war has increased the demands for independence even more. Putin is trying to expand the Russian army by recruiting troops from these regions. However, most of the citizens living in these regions do not support Putin's decision to invade Ukraine. That's why they do not want to participate in the war. Following Putin's mobilization decision, officers of the Russian army were sent to these regions. Their task was to recruit citizens into the army according to the mobilization order. However, the Russian officers were met with very harsh reactions. In most of these regions, no one wanted to join the Russian army. In some regions, the Russian army forcibly recruited citizens. This made the problem in Russia even more complicated. The Russian commanders were extremely cruel to the soldiers who came from the minority regions. In the Russian armed forces, racism existed at an extremely high level. Because of this, there was an ongoing source of tension between Russian commanders and soldiers from districts with a minority population. Soldiers revolted. The uprising of Chechen soldiers in particular had a significant impact on the overall direction of the conflict. Rapid dissemination of the racist allegations throughout the Russian military occurred. Residents of Russia's constituent republics have begun to organize demonstrations in response to these occurrences. The number of people demanding independence in numerous places is rapidly increasing. These uprisings have the potential to escalate into a full-scale war, it is believed. Russia's political framework does not fit modern state structures. Every day, Russia's influence decreases, despite the country's desire to one day become an empire. It is impossible for Russia to continue its policy of assimilation of the various minorities that live within its borders. There is a very good chance that Russia may disintegrate in the not-too-distant future. However, all it will take is one spark for Russia to implode. But how exactly will that light bulb go off? It is possible that the process that will eventually lead to the collapse of Russia will get underway if the Ukrainian army is successful in winning this war. After the war is over, these two states are going to come to terms on a new agreement and sign it. According to the terms of this agreement, the side that did not win the war will be responsible for paying a significant war reparation. Nevertheless, Russia does not possess the financial resources necessary to pay the compensation. In this scenario, the United Nations will begin to coordinate a new process to get things moving. A significant portion of Russia's assets will be seized, and the country's obligations will be settled in installments. It is not hard to foresee that there will be shifts in power within the Russian government as a result of this process. This will result in a significant lack of authoritative leadership in Russia. The fight for independence will be waged against Russia, and those states that want independence will have a chance to win. The Eastern Bloc might experience a significant loss as a consequence of Russia's downfall, and the international order as a whole might shift as a direct result of this. Nevertheless, these findings call for an in-depth investigation. Let's investigate the subject further in another video. What are your thoughts on the potential repercussions that could result from this resistance put up by the Ukrainian army? Do you believe that the ongoing conflict will lead to the dissolution of Russia? What would be the impact on the political landscape of the world if Russia were to break up? What do you think? Share it with us. Follow us for